What's up, everybody? Today we are joined by a good friend of mine and ex-teammate, Jeff Hoffman. He's currently a pitcher with the Rockies. Spent parts of the last 5 seasons in the big leagues with them. He was originally a ninth overall pick in the 2014 draft by the Blue Jays. He was then traded in 2015 by the Blue Jays, and they sent him, Jose Reyes, Miguel Castro, and also another teammate of his now, Jesus Tinoco, over to Colorado. That was in the Troy Tulowitzki, the Troy Hawkins trade. We played most of the year in 2016 together in Albuquerque. I was rehabbing on an oblique injury, and then he made his debut in August of that year. Actually, part of the reason we're talking to him today is because your boy Yancy Almane says you got the best jump shot and most walks on the team. So we'll see about that. We'll definitely get into that. But thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's gonna be fun. Can't wait.
Yeah. So how's the off season going so far? What have you been up to?
It's been good. I've been trying to take advantage of some downtime. Took a trip back to the hometown. Got some children free babysitting for my family for once because I'm so far away, so I don't really get that a lot. But yeah, I'm excited. I just started getting back in the weight room this week, so just kind of trying to get back into it right now, but still no throwing or anything like that. So just kind of hanging out.
You feel like less taxed at the end of the season since the season was shorter? Is it, or does it
Definitely.
feel pretty much the same?
Definitely. No, I mean, for me, especially this year, because this year was my first full year in the bullpen. So, um, that was, I mean, I went from normally throwing 150, 200 innings in a season to this year I threw like 20. So definitely feel fresh.
Right.
Definitely itching to get back out there, get back on the mound. Um, and I'm itching to make some gains in the weight room this year, so I'm excited for it.
You mentioned you're starting to work out. As of now, obviously, we're not too far into the, MLB offseason here in 2020. What does it look like for you as far as workouts go? Is it more cardio as of now, or is it more, lifting?
Right now, it's more lifting. Especially early for me, a big thing for my off season will be my diet. Kind of trying to get my body right before I get back into the weight room.
Right.
Get to a certain weight that I'm trying to get to or whatever that might be. But for right now, I kind of for the first month at least before I start throwing, I'll definitely focus on lifting some heavy stuff and um, just trying to make sure my body's right before I get a ball back in my hand.
hmm And I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to talk to you a little bit about the 2020 season to really kick it off because it was, I talked to Yensi about this last week on the Walk It Off podcast. It was disastrous for everybody, but with the MLB 60-game season, new spring training formats, what were your thoughts on how the MLB handled that whole process? And what do you think they could have possibly done differently to make it better?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it's going to be easy to critique, things that could have gone better because obviously you're looking back and
Yeah.
you went through it and you saw what went wrong, you saw what went right. So it's easy to go back and say, oh, this is how you should have did it perfectly. But
Right.
I think for the most part, pretty decent job was done. At least speaking for our clubhouse, I mean, we had a couple positives early on before spring two even started, but after that it was solid. We had a really solid routine, being tested, making sure everybody was doing the right thing off the field, and our guys. I mean, we couldn't have been happier with our guys from that aspect. But I think looking back, you know, NBA had to have done it the best, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was a blast to watch all the way down to the end. They kept the fans engaged the whole time. It was entertaining, even though there were no fans there in the stands. I feel like they maximized, what they were given.
What were your thoughts on the Nuggets? Obviously, you pitch here in Colorado. What were your thoughts
Yeah,
on the Nuggets?
yeah, it was awesome, man. At the end of the season when they were going through, their series, we were wearing jerseys to the field, trying to hype them up, you know. But they did really well, man. They were in it right down to the end. It's unfortunate that they got that guy in the Western Conference now that tends to be a buzzsaw, um, but yeah, man, it was fun to watch. I know we had Matt Kemp in the clubhouse this year, who's a big LA guy. So when that series came up, it was like, there was a lot of this in the clubhouse, especially
Sure.
between guys like him and Freeland. Freeland's from Denver, so it was definitely fun to watch and listen to that.
I think it's only fitting to bring it up now. I mentioned we were talking to Yancey last week. He said you have the best jump shot and arguably the best hops on the team as well, which caught both Christian and I by surprise that he said that. Could you kind of attest to that by Yancey? And who are a few other guys that are next up behind you
First of
if you're
all,
at that number one spot?
do you agree with that assessment?
You know what? On the jumping side, I think there are some guys that are probably a better option than me. But one on one, nobody in that clubhouse wants me.
Okay.
Nobody in that clubhouse wants me. Jens, I appreciate Yancy for giving me the added little compliment, but I think Trevor Story definitely takes the cake on the
Yeah.
verticals.
He's
I mean,
athletic.
I gotta say, at first I was like, "Oh, really?" But you know, you are pretty athletic. I'll give you that. You are a good example of pitchers. First of all, you represent us well,
Thank you. I
and
try.
Story's also very athletic. So to be in the same conversation as that, now I'm with you. I'm 100% behind you now.
Trev is I mean, he's one of those freak athletes. He's
Right.
strong as hell in the weight room and just super athletic. I mean, you see the plays he makes on the field, so it
Yeah.
speaks for itself.
Did you hoop in high school?
I think he did, yeah. I mean, I would imagine he did. I've seen him play, and if he didn't, I would think high school basketball coach down in Dallas, Irving area is probably pretty mad if he didn't play. But yeah, he's super athletic, man.
What about for you in high school? Did you play at all?
Yeah, I played all the way through. I felt like I might have been able to play at a lower level coming out, but I started throwing hard, so I just kind of took the bull by its horns and went the baseball route.
You probably made the right choice, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think I would have been in the NBA bubble this year. So
That's funny. That's funny. Well, Christian and I have talked about this in previous episodes. I mentioned the new spring training format, the new 60-game format. What were your thoughts? Obviously, there was the first spring training, which was completely normal until COVID really hit. And then we had a shortened spring training 2.0 and then headed straight into the season. How did you approach that whole process? Obviously, that's never happened for you, I'd imagine, because we haven't seen anything like this in the past. So how did you kind of approach that whole process?
it was really weird. When everything first got shut down, we were all kind of scrambling to figure out what the next step was, how we were going to stay in shape, how we are going to keep throwing. Was there going to be a catcher where we were staying to be able to stay on the mound for as long as possible, or however that was going to go. But it was. I think it was a big, you know, thanks to everybody who stayed in the Scottsdale area who kind of banded together, and we all kind of had a group that was, on the same schedule, and we were all on the same page about staying ready and stuff like that. And I know that was the same with a bunch of guys around the league. But we just, we couldn't really imagine a year without baseball, so we were ready. We were prepared for a startup, whether it was going to be sooner or later, it didn't really matter. So, I think, we had some pitching coaches that stayed in the area. We had catchers in the area. We had strength coaches in the area. So it was pretty easy. I had to throw together a quick home gym. That was probably the most difficult part of the whole thing is, trying to find a company that was still open enough to get a shipment out, or, you know, everybody knows how that went when everything first got shut down. There was nothing going on. So I was lucky enough to find a company South Florida that got me a quick home garage kit put together, and that's what kind of kept me going through this whole thing.
So
Oh,
did
what's
you
that?
know before that, um, if did you know you were going to be in the bullpen like during spring training, or was it still kind of like you didn't know where chips were going to fall?
It was still up in the air, man. It was I remember when everything got shut down, it was kind of like me and Chichi Gonzalez was still in the mix. He ended up winning the job. We came into spring 2 kind of still competing, which was weird because it was like, man, we've been, me and him specifically, who didn't technically have like a job yet, were like, all right, we are still grinding. Through the whole quarantine, I was working um on stuff like real stuff, like um pitch mix, tunneling, how much I was going to use, pitch usage, that kind of stuff. Um, but it was tough for me and Chi for sure. We got back to camp though, and we both threw well. Leading up to the start of the season, they decided to go with him. I was, you know, happy to contribute out of the bullpen this year, and it was definitely a different experience for me, but I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because obviously, with the interruption there, and I was just thinking of it as a starter. You know, how do you? It was so important for me, like my buildup from
Yeah,
like
yeah,
November all the way to April.
right.
It was like every single day counted.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
get
We went from built. Me and Chi were at 5 innings when everything got shut down for the first time, and we had to revert, and we were all the way back to like basic. The way we saw it was we were back to like late December, early January,
exactly.
and so we were like, we took some time away from the mound, then we started to ramp back up for like, we tried to time it out. Anytime we heard a little rumbling of a date, we kind of rewrote it, and we were like, all right, so to be ready for that date, this is where we got to be at right now. And everybody who was around here was the same way. I mean, we were just trying to time it up because we knew that we were going to most likely have a couple weeks, and then it was going to be go time, and that's so different from what it's normally like. It's so, and we had to face our own hitters. We didn't get to see anybody other than I saw Nolan and Charlie and Trevor every 5 days or
It's a
whatever it
decent
was.
lineup to.
Oh yeah, it's a great lineup, but I got to prepare myself for other guys. I see those guys ever during the season. They're going to be behind me. So, um, it was definitely a crazy year, man.
Did you feel like your stuff was almost better because you only had to go? Because do you didn't have any multi-inning outings? Did you? All just one inning outings?
No, I did. I only had one inning outing. Everything else was
Oh, it
one
was the
plus.
opposite.
Yeah, it was the opposite. So I think the only like scheduled one inning outing I had was I actually worked my way into the eighth inning in Houston, which was like, I was like, man, I'm good at this bullpen thing, man. I can do this. Um, but yeah, so I threw a scoreless eighth in Houston, and that was the only time I had like a one inning. Everything else was like either come in at the tail end of somebody else's inning and then go my own
Right.
full inning, or whatever it was. But no, we with the new rules with the three batter minimum, there was a totally different way that managers had to manage their bullpen this year, which is obviously so much different from what you're used to.
Right.
That's
What do you think about that rule? You think it's,
You know,
I don't
I
think it's even necessary, but
I don't think it is either. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're trying to do to make the game more friendly for the fans, and more and quicker and more fast paced and stuff like that, things that the fans want to see. But when you start changing rules that are made baseball for so long.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with it or disagree with it, but um, you know, baseball's baseball when it comes down to it.
And when I compare it to football, like I'll watch football occasionally, but
Yeah.
especially just about any game, especially towards the end, it gets very like you know choppy as
Yeah.
far as the pace of
Yeah.
the game. Nobody's saying anything about that.
Right.
But, and
That's what
it
they're trying to
really
change in
only
baseball.
comes
Yeah.
up in baseball. It seems like in the playoffs because
Right.
then everything's like being micromanaged.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely see the managerial style of like a Dave Roberts and stuff like that. They're literally like he's not letting guys go out there more than he wants. Doesn't matter if you go immaculate inning, you're done. Like he's definitely got his style of managing a bullpen and stuff like that. I mean, I love it. I love that kind of stuff. I love the matchups. There's some guys out there that are like that. That's what they made their living on for so many years. Is like, man, I can get lefties out, or whatever it is. But you know, that's what I mean. That's what they're trying to change.
What was the biggest adjustment that you had to make when converting from a starting pitcher and then, going to the bullpen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was like learning how not to pace myself because there was no
Oh,
need to pace myself anymore. So it was like in the bullpen as a starter, you don't want to gas yourself because then you'll have no energy going in,
right.
for the first inning. Whereas out of the bullpen, it's like, no, I got to be ready to execute this, you know, backdoor perfectly executed curveball pitch one so that I can get back to the heater, that kind of stuff. So you got to be ready to go from pitch one. And that was kind of what was weird for me at first. I was, you know, maybe early on in the season, I was a little touchy and feely around the zone where when I really was doing well, it was when I was, throwing the ball over the plate and, making them make decisions.
Yeah. Did your stuff get better once you figured out how to just like let it go?
I think so. I think that, and I think a little adjustments that I made with pitch usage that kind of helped me too. I was super heavy fastball usage for the first 4 years or parts of 4 seasons that I was in the show, but I think this year I really started to rely more on the split, the curveball, getting those in there kind of almost as like primaries, and then being able to use the fastball late or any variants of that. It was an eye opener for me for sure because the other guy knows what your go-tos are and he knows what he's looking to hit. So that's why you got to be able to throw everything in any situation.
How long did it take you to, feel at least mentally confident and comfortable coming out of bullpen? Because obviously that's a huge adjustment, being a starting
Yeah.
pitcher and then translating over to the bullpen at that high at that high of a level in the MLB. So how long would you say and how deep into the season was it that you really felt comfortable mentally coming out of the bullpen?
I think it was, I think it took me probably 3 or 4 outings, because there was still a lot of nerves and stuff that I wasn't used to coming in that situation, coming in with people on base. That's something that I was not used
Right.
to at all. Coming in, with bases loaded in Arizona in the bottom of the ninth. Never did that before. Did
Right.
that one time this year. Like those are all so much different from coming in a clean inning and just having to navigate through 3 or 4 hitters, whatever it is. But I think after the first few outings I kind of got my nerves under control and everything kind of slowed down for me.
Okay, I asked this to a lot of pitchers because it's really interesting to me, just varying the different pitchers' game style and skill set. Who would you say has been the toughest hitter that you've faced in your career thus far?
Oh man. um well, I faced Mookie twice this year and he got me to 2 solo homers. So I still don't know how to pitch to him. But no, that guy's really good. I faced Trout for the first time this year, walked him,
Okay.
faced Chris Bryant's really been really good against me in my career. There are a handful of guys that are just, really, really hard to get out.
I can
If
think of
I had
another one who's hard to get out.
was that
I can think of another one who's hard to get out. Or at least you've had trouble getting out.
I've had trouble getting him out.
Yeah,
Oh
you
man,
only
who
faced
is
him
it?
one time though.
I've only faced him once.
Yeah.
Not sure. Who is it? You?
You don't
Oh
remember
God.
that?
No, I don't.
What was the result?
What do you mean? What was the? Yes, you do.
No, I don't. What happened?
I only faced you one time
Where did you face me?
in Colorado when I was with Seattle.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
I never asked you. It was 2 years ago, I guess.
I didn't
So,
have a good game at all that game, I don't think.
but
I
neither
don't think.
did I think you still won.
Oh man.
But
That's funny. I
there's runner at third, less than 2 outs. You threw me a slider. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate the respect.
Yeah, you slider bat
Yeah,
speed, right?
like,
Good piece.
I have no chance at anything over 90. Right into my bat speed.
I'll blame it on Tony. I'll blame it on Tony. He put it down.
There's our next guest, Tony. We got to talk
There you
about
go.
it.
There you go.
That's funny. That is awesome. Well, you weren't having any major interest coming out of your junior year in high school as far as Division I colleges go, until you popped off going into your senior year, and then your senior year went well, obviously, as well down in high school. How much of an impact do you think that junior year, not having a lot of interest from Division I colleges, had on your future? And do you think it kind of put a chip on your shoulder to push even harder to prove a lot of people wrong?
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of going into that after my junior season, going into that fall, I had an opportunity to play on a little like kind of fall season team that did a lot of showcase type stuff, and definitely I knew that I had to throw harder. I knew that, whatever it was, 86 at the time wasn't going to cut it, and I got a little stronger. Um and I hit 90 for like the first time, and all of a sudden they were like, phone was ringing off the hook, and it was like, hey man, like we love your projectability, like all this stuff. All of a sudden, from like the change from being recruited from throwing 86 to like 90 was like,
Yeah.
bam, like and it wasn't all small schools either. Like it
Right.
was some decent sized Division 1, schools.
Right.
So I think that definitely helped. And then from there, like it kind of just started speeding up, and it was like, all right, now I'm gonna hit 92, hit 94, that kind of stuff. And then by the end of the day, it was, mid 90s, and I had a chance to go play at like a bigger school and play against some real talent. And then I got lucky enough to get picked to play in Cape Cod. My coach in college hooked me up with that my freshman year, which was unbelievable. Went there, kind of showed out there, and that kind of put me on the map. But yeah, if I didn't ever play those fall showcases after my junior year, none of that would ever have happened.
Oh, that's crazy how
Yeah,
one season
so
one
yeah,
season can make that big of an impact.
yeah, and like at the time, like I didn't even know like that was gonna. Obviously, I didn't know that was gonna make any difference. Like I just wanted to play baseball. I love playing baseball, and I had a chance to play on a team with some guys that wanted to play college too, and I just hit 90 at the right tournament, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a big jump. Your junior year, you said you were throwing like mid 80s to senior year. What were you, mid low 90s to low to mid 90s?
Low 90s, and then I pitched in a summer ball tournament going when I was okay, so it must have been the summer of 2011. I like started throwing like really hard
Yeah.
for 6'4", a buck 60. Like I
Okay.
was a string bean out there, and I was like 94, 95, and then that's when it was like, all right, I can pitch, with some better talent and stuff like that. So that was definitely a fun time in my life when I started to realize, oh, I can pitch. Like, this guy's going to LSU next year, and I just got him out. Like, I can do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Jeff, to wrap it up, obviously we spoke about this question a little bit earlier before we started recording. It stumps a lot of people. What would you say is one thing that a lot of people may not know about you, either on or off the baseball diamond?
I think I would have to say it's not even like it's not a hobby. It's more like an obsession with Marvel Comics. Um, Definitely, like, I don't know, once I started getting into them, never stopped. Then I went through these past, however many 15 to 20 years of movies that just came out. I actually have a half sleeve on my left arm of Thanos. So yeah, it's I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I enjoy it, man. I think the movies are awesome, and um
Do you have the actual comic books too? Do you collect those?
I have a few. I haven't really gotten into it yet. Hopefully, when I finally get into my forever home and stuff like that, I'll have a spot for stuff like that, and I'll be able to start really collecting. My wife got me one of the first Incredible Hulk comics a couple years ago for a holiday or something like that. But that was cool to finally get my first one, and then hopefully from there it grows.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Gives
is.
me something to do in the off season. I get to go to the movies, see a lot of movies. My wife likes to watch them too, so it's a good deal.
Well, listen, Jeff, that wraps up everything for this week's episode of the Walk It Off podcast. Both Christian and I really appreciate you coming on. Had to get you on with what Yancey said last week. Tony, you're up next. Thank you for coming on, Jeff. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to watching you even more.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me. It was fun to catch up.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Yeah, man. See ya.